I used to think the sweetest sound in a marriage was the ordinary music of a good week. 2 coffee mugs clinking in the sink, the soft thud of mail through the slot, a laugh from the other room that didn't need an audience. I'm Noah. I work in risk and compliance for a payments company called Meridian Pay. It's a job with unglamorous verbs: verify, document, escalate. My wife, Chelsea, managed social media for local boutiques, which meant she could make a Tuesday look like a magazine cover. We were 5 years in, living in a small craftsman I'd rehabbed on evenings and weekends with more patience than skill. On the mantel sat a thrift store clock that never quite kept time, but we loved it because it had a stubborn tick. When the invitations to the Harbor Arts Foundation Gala hit our mailbox, Chelsea squealed like a teenager. "Everyone will be there," she said, sweeping an imaginary cape. "This is the break I need. Networking real clients, you'll see." I ironed my only tux shirt, polished shoes that had seen more funerals than dances, and told myself this was good for both of us. We'd toast art, hold hands, people watch, go home happy. The venue was an old shipworks turned glass and steel showpiece overlooking the bay. Wealth has a smell. Candles that cost more than dinner and carpet you're afraid to stand on. A jazz trio played polite swing. Photographers hovered like dragonflies. Chelsea sparkled in a green dress I'd never seen. Her eyes bounced, gathering names and angles for the feed. I was content to be a shadow with a decent bow tie. Then he arrived, Julian Crane. If our city had a walking headline, it was him. Hotels, restaurants, a lifestyle brand, and a smile calibrated to make rooms lean forward. I'd seen his name come across my desk more than once. Meridian Pay processed payments for several of his venues, and there had been oddities. Rounding errors that weren't round. Hospitality charges that looked like hush money in a tux. The kind of patterns that make a risk guy tilt his head and start a file. He spotted Chelsea like a metal finds a magnet. "You must be Chelsea Hart," he purred, using the voice rich men learn in mirrors. "Your reels are everywhere. You make this city look like Paris." She laughed. "You need the right angles. Or the right company," he said, gaze flicking to me and back as if I were a chair. "I'm Noah," I said, hand out. He shook it like doing me a favor. For an hour, I watched him orbit us, carving space with stories about the portfolio and curated experiences. He asked Chelsea to tour his newest hotel tomorrow morning. No crowds, clean light. He didn't ask me anything. People like Julian forget men like me because we don't wear our power on our sleeves. We tuck it into folders, contracts, and systems that keep the lights on. Near midnight, a donor announced an impromptu after-party at a private lounge upstairs. Chelsea's hand squeezed mine. "Let's at least see it," she whispered. "Curiosity is a kind of hunger." We went. Upstairs felt like an airplane for rich people. Low lighting, velvet, a bar that glowed like a fish tank. Julian slid in beside us, as if we'd asked. "Chelsea, I've got a car downstairs," he said, the line practiced to sound spontaneous. "Let me kidnap you for one real drink. I want to hear your ideas for the brand." I opened my mouth to draw a boundary. Before words found me, he flicked a dollar bill, an actual crumpled dollar, at my chest with a smirk. "Don't worry, champ. I'll take good care of her tonight." It hit my lapel and fluttered to the floor like a dare. A younger version of me might have launched a scene, but I don't fight in rooms built to make men like him look taller. I fight where the record sticks. I bent, picked up the dollar, folded it into my wallet like a specimen, and looked him in the eye until his grin cracked just a hair. Chelsea hesitated, looking from him to me and back, lip caught between teeth the way she does when she wants. Permission she plans to take anyway. "Noah, this is huge," she said. "Don't be old-fashioned. Have a safe night," I said evenly. It wasn't consent. It was a record. She left on his arm. He glanced back, triumphant. The door slid shut with a purr. I walked downstairs through laughter and clinking glass, out into night, air sharp as a reprimand. I sat in my car and let the feeling pass. Then I did what I do. I made a list. 1. Change the locks first thing. Not as punishment, as boundary. 2. Freeze the discretionary joint card we use for dinners and impulse treats. Leave the mortgage and utilities alone. 3. Call Harper, the family attorney a friend swore by, the one who speaks in clear sentences. 4. Move my essentials to the guest room. 5. Document, not dramatize. By morning, the list had check marks. The locksmith came at 8, swapped cylinders in 20 minutes, and handed me new keys with a nod that said he'd heard the story without me telling it. I left a box in the foyer with Chelsea's toiletries, a change of clothes, and a short letter. You will have Wednesday dinners and alternate weekends at your request when you text the day before. Please don't bring visitors. Finances, see enclosed. I'm not angry. I'm done with chaos. N. I included a copy of the frozen card notice and a summary of bills I'd keep paying. No threats, just rails. At 10, I forwarded a concise, factual note to Julian's corporate ethics email. Public on his site if you scroll past the fluff, as well as an alert to Meridian Pay's merchant review team. I kept it boring. Dates, the power dynamic, corporate card charges I suspected, not alleged, might map to non-business hospitality. No affectives. I don't burn. I illuminate. Around noon, my phone lit up with an unknown number that resolved into Chelsea's face. I let go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, a different number rang. I answered. She didn't start with a greeting. My key doesn't work. I changed the locks. I said, your box is inside the foyer. There's a schedule and a list. We can talk with a counselor. We can coordinate logistics. But you don't live here anymore. Saying it out loud made the floor steady. You're overreacting, she snapped, then softened, a tone shift she used when bargaining with furniture stores and feelings. It was just a ride. You're making me look insane. You made a choice, I said. I'm making mine. Before she could spool up, another call came through. Julian. I declined. He called again. I answered to stop him waking the neighborhood. He didn't bother with pleasantries. Put Chelsea on, he barked. Now. She's not here, I said. He lowered his voice, the fake calm of a man who thinks you'll flinch if he whispers. You think changing locks makes you a hero? You want a number? I can bury you in lawyers. Good luck with that, I said. By the way, the dollar trick? Tacky. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. You didn't tell me your husband is. I heard muffled static, then the line flared back. Head of risk at Meridian Pay? He'd clearly Googled while talking. I don't decide your payouts, I said honest, but I document what decides them. He swore, ugly and inventive. You just froze my accounts. I didn't touch your accounts, I said, but someone in my company likely noticed irregularities and paused disbursements pending review. It's not personal. It's policy. You set me up, he hissed. You walked into it with a spotlight. He hung up. The quiet after felt like a door closing on a bad room. Within an hour, my inbox pinged with a message from our merchant team. We've initiated a standard review of Crane Hospitality, as flagged by charge patterns. Please send any relevant documentation from your purview, keeping to scope. I forwarded only what I had a right to forward. Publicly visible gala charges, timing, nothing for marital space. Lines matter. I do my job with my badge on, not with a grudge. Chelsea texted a photo of my letter with a string of question marks, and then, finally, a single sentence. Can we talk at 7? I replied, 7. Kitchen table. Bring honesty. I spent the afternoon sorting drawers, a ritual that calms me. I found our wedding invitations tied with a ribbon, an early Polaroid of us on a sagging couch, and a receipt for the junk shop clock that never told the same time twice. Memory has a way of volunteering just when you want silence. I set the box back on the shelf without throwing anything away. Ending without vandalizing the past felt like the only way to keep the good parts true. At 6:30, there was a knock. I opened the door to find Chelsea with sunglasses on and apology preloaded. You blindsided me, she said before hello. The locks, the money. I left you the mortgage, I said. The utilities. A schedule. A counselor's card. I removed access to the slush fund we used for sushi and impulse shoes. Her chin lifted. Julian says he can fix it. Julian says whatever puts him back in the center of the frame. She removed the glasses. Her eyes were red. He said you're trying to ruin him. His CFO called everyone. Payouts are on hold. He said, her voice dropped, scared now. He said Meridian Pay flag hospitality expenses tied to personal stuff. Then he's angry at his own ledger. I said, not at me. Are you going to divorce me? she whispered, like saying it quietly might change the word. I'm going to separate with dignity, I said. Where we land depends on what you do next. We sat at the table we'd sanded ourselves, the one with the little dent where I'd once dropped a wrench. I laid out the rails. Therapy, a temporary schedule, a mutual non-disparagement clause because this city runs on whispers, and a request that she disclose the workplace relationship to HR. I won't scorch the earth, I said, but I won't let you pretend the garden's fine. Chelsea dabbed her eyes. I thought you'd beg, she murmured. I thought you'd fight for me. I am fighting, I said, just not to keep you, to keep the part of me that doesn't perform. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down and blanched. It's him again, she said, answering reflexively. Julian? She listened, color leaving her face. What? No, I didn't know. She looked up at me like a person reading a sign too late. He says his legal team is freaking out, that his merchant risk profile got elevated, that he can't move funds. He said, she swallowed, you're not just some guy. I'm just a guy who knows where the tripwires are, I said, and I stay on my side of them. After she left, without another plea or promise, I brewed tea and stood at the sink watching a neighbor walk his old beagle slowly past our house. Ordinary life didn't care about my plotline. It kept going, which was oddly kind. At 9, my boss texted, heard rumblings from merchant about Crane. Stay recused from discretionary calls. Proud of how you're handling home and work, clean lines. I replied, always. At 10, a final message popped up from an unknown number. The text read, you didn't tell me your husband is the person who signs off on risk escalations for my venues. Gee, the signature felt like a dare. I turned off my phone. I slept in the guest room. The clock on the mantel ticked like it had found the right minute at last. In the morning, I woke to a new email, a court date for temporary orders, and an invite to mediation. And later that day, a voicemail I never expected from a woman who introduced herself as Elaine. She spoke briskly, with a calm you can't teach. Mr. Ward, I'm calling as Julian Crane's wife, she said. I believe we should talk. That's as far as we got before the recording cut off. I stood with the phone in my hand, looking at the sunlight on the floor, and understood a new chapter had arrived. Not a shouting match, not a spectacle, something steadier, something with signatures. Elaine Crane called again the next morning. Her voice was calm, but edged with fatigue, the kind that comes from someone who's already spent the night arguing with lawyers and truth. Mr. Ward, she said, I think you and I might be on the same side of a mess neither of us started. Would you meet me for coffee? I hesitated. The last thing I needed was to get tangled in Julian Crane's personal circus. But something in her tone, measured, tired, sharp in all the right places, told me she wasn't calling for drama. She was calling to end it. We met at a small cafe downtown. No press, no lawyers, just two people who'd been collateral damage in someone else's performance. She arrived exactly on time, wearing a gray coat and carrying a slim folder. Her hair was neat, her eyes steady. She didn't waste time with small talk. Julian thinks he's untouchable, she said, sliding the folder across the table. He isn't. You probably already know that from your end, but I needed someone inside Meridian Pay to confirm the noise isn't just rumors. I didn't touch the folder. You realize I can't talk about active merchant reviews, I said carefully. Anything I know professionally stays on my side of the wall. She nodded. I expected that. That's why I'm not asking for details. I'm here because you and I have something in common. We both built a life around someone who thought loyalty was negotiable. That line hit harder than I wanted to admit. She took a breath, steady but deliberate. I found bank transfers, personal accounts in the Caymans, the kind of accounts that make regulators twitch. He used corporate funds to keep multiple people quiet. Women, hotels, expenses buried as client entertainment. I have evidence, but it's messy. I need the right way to get it to the people who will actually act on it, not bury it under NDAs. I sipped my coffee, watching her. You want him exposed? I said. I want him stopped, she corrected. Because he thinks this is a game. And I'm done cleaning up the board. I studied the folder. If you have hard proof, don't give it to me. Send it to your counsel or compliance officer, not me. You can reference the evidence anonymously, but I can make sure it lands where someone will look. She exhaled. That's all I needed. Someone who won't flinch. We spoke for almost an hour. About the quiet ways power corrodes. About how people like Julian mistake decency for weakness. She didn't ask for sympathy. She asked for structure. Before she left, she handed me a single envelope. No confidential data, she said. Just a statement I'd like entered into the review file through proper channels. You'll see why. Inside was a signed declaration. Not accusations, not gossip, just a factual note detailing her role in Julian's companies and the transactions she'd witnessed. It was perfectly written, legally sound. I took it to our internal ethics liaison the same afternoon, logged it officially, and left it there. Clean. No fingerprints of revenge, just process. That evening, Chelsea showed up at my house unannounced. No makeup, hoodie, the look of someone who's just realized the movie she was in didn't end how she imagined. We need to talk, she said quietly. I didn't invite her in right away. Is this about Julian or us? She hesitated. Both, I think. I stepped aside. She walked in and stopped halfway across the living room, eyes flicking to the empty spot where her wedding photo used to hang. He's losing everything, she said. His accounts, his investors, even his company's being audited. He told me you started it. Is that true? I met her gaze. I didn't start it. I just stopped pretending not to see it. Her shoulders sagged. He's blaming me. Says I leaked something. He screamed at me in front of his staff. Did you? I asked. She shook her head quickly. No, I didn't even know what half of it was. But now people are whispering. HR called me this morning. They said they'd heard rumors about my relationship with him and that I might want to step back until the review's done. Then take the step, I said. Use the time to figure out who you want to be when you're not orbiting someone else's chaos. Her voice cracked. I made one mistake, Noah. You made several, I said softly. But the biggest one wasn't cheating. It was underestimating me. That landed. She looked away, blinking fast. Do you hate me? No, I said. But I can't respect the version of you that thought I'd trade dignity for attention. She stayed silent a long time, then nodded, wiped her eyes, and left without slamming the door. The next few days moved fast. Elaine's evidence made it up the chain. Meridian Pay's investigation team filed a formal escalation with regulators. I stayed out of it, per protocol, but every whisper through compliance channels confirmed what I already suspected. Julian's empire was a house of cards. Then came the news alert. Crane Holdings under investigation for financial misconduct. Within hours, media outlets picked up the story. A photo of Julian, pale and furious, standing outside his office, surrounded by cameras, spread across the internet. The caption read, "The Golden Boy Falls." That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, the voice was small, strained. Julian. You win, he rasped. You and your little ethics crusade. You think you're better than me? You're just another suit hiding behind policy. I'm not hiding, I said. I'm standing exactly where I belong. He laughed bitterly. Enjoy your paperwork, hero. Then he hung up. I thought that was the end of it. But life has a way of looping back. A week later, I got another call, this time from Elaine. It's done, she said simply. He's been indicted. Fraud, tax evasion, falsified reports. They'll freeze the rest of his assets tomorrow. He's trying to blame everyone, but the evidence is airtight. Are you okay? I asked. She paused, relieved. Sad too, but mostly free. Then you got what you needed. No, she said. We both did. When I hung up, I walked out onto the porch. The air was cool, the neighborhood quiet except for sprinklers ticking in the distance. The sky had that soft glow before dawn when everything looks washed clean. Chelsea hadn't called again. I didn't expect her to. She'd chosen her silence, and for once, I didn't feel the urge to fill it. Over the next month, things settled. HR confirmed her resignation. The legal team wrapped their findings. Julian's empire crumbled publicly, and for once, justice didn't arrive in a press release. It arrived in accountability. My boss called me in his office one Friday. You kept this clean, he said. The board noticed. We're restructuring merchant risk next quarter, and we want you to lead it. I nodded. Thank you. Walking out of that office, I realized the strangest part. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt balanced. like the world had quietly snapped back into place. That weekend, I invited Elaine to join a small charity committee Meridian sponsored. She accepted. Not for him, she said, for the reminder that we're both better at building than burning. And she was right. Months later, I sold the old house. Too many echoes. I bought a small place closer to the lake. Quiet, simple mind. The kind of place where the clock ticked honestly, even if it was off by a minute. Chelsea sent one last message before she moved away. I hope you find peace. I replied, I already have. On a Saturday morning, I took my toolbox to hang shelves in the new living room. I reached into my wallet for a receipt and found it. That crumpled dollar bill Julian had thrown at me the night of the gala. I smoothed it flat, pinned it inside the frame of the clock, and whispered to no one, that's the last payment you'll ever make. Then I set the clock on the mantel, listened to its quiet, stubborn tick, and smiled. Because in the end, revenge hadn't come from rage or ruin. It came from rebuilding my life so well that nothing, not arrogance, not betrayal, not money, could ever buy it again. 3 months later, the noise around Julian Crane had faded into a hum of headlines and legal jargon. He'd gone from glossy magazine covers to grainy courthouse photos, cufflinks traded for handcuffs. Watching from afar, I didn't feel triumph, just a kind of closure that didn't need applause. The real surprise came one Thursday afternoon. I was at the lake house, sanding down an old oak table I'd bought secondhand, when I heard a knock. I opened the door, half expecting a delivery. Instead, Chelsea stood there, holding a small box. She looked different, not glamorous, not broken, just human again. Hi, she said softly. Can I come in? I hesitated, then nodded. She stepped inside, eyes scanning the new space. The calm, the quiet, the life that no longer revolved around her storms. This is nice, she said. Peaceful. It is, I replied. She set the box on the counter. These are your things. Old photos, your books. I didn't want to keep them. Thank you, I said. You could have mailed them. I wanted to see you once, she admitted. To say I'm sorry, not for leaving, but for how I did it. I thought excitement was happiness. I was wrong. I looked at her, the woman I'd once built a home with, the one who mistook stability for boredom. I hope you find what you're looking for, I said simply. Tears welled in her eyes, but she nodded. You already did, didn't you? Yeah, I said. It turns out peace looks a lot like an empty lake and a steady clock. She smiled faintly, wiped her cheeks, and left without another word. The door clicked shut, gentle and final. Later that week, I got an email from Elaine. She was moving abroad, consulting for an international firm that specialized in ethical finance. She wrote, You reminded me that quiet competence is the strongest kind of power. Don't lose that. I smiled reading it. Some people pass through your life, not to stay, but to straighten the spine of your story. By summer, the house felt alive. I'd started volunteering with a local mentorship program, teaching young professionals how to navigate financial ethics and avoid corporate traps. It wasn't glamorous, but it mattered. Each week, I'd drive home at sunset, roll down the windows, and feel something I hadn't in years, contentment. One evening, as I was closing up the laptop, Nora, my younger sister's daughter, called. Uncle Noah, Mom says you're the guy who caught that billionaire scammer, she teased. I laughed. No, kiddo, I just turned on the lights in a dark room. That's what heroes do, she said, then hung up before I could argue. Her words stuck with me. I'd never thought of myself as a hero, just a man who chose principle over pride. But maybe that was enough. A month later, I attended a charity gala hosted by the same foundation where it all began. Different crowd, different tone. I stood near the same balcony, the bay glittering below, remembering the night it all started. The insult, the dollar, the fall. The event director spotted me. Mr. Ward, good to see you, she said warmly. Funny, last year this place was all about Crane and his parties. This year, everyone's talking about integrity. About time, I said with a grin. As I left, I slipped my hand in my jacket pocket and felt the faint outline of the old dollar bill, still folded neatly inside. A small, worn reminder that sometimes the best revenge isn't loud or cruel. It's living so well that your peace becomes untouchable. That night, I stood on my porch, the lake whispering against the shore, the sky burning with quiet stars. The world had finally gone still. Not because I'd fought harder, but because I'd learned when to stop fighting. The dollar stayed pinned behind the clock on the mantel, ticking softly in time with a new life. One built not from anger, but from clarity. And every night when it chimed, it didn't sound like revenge anymore. It sounded like freedom.